Hello and welcome to Chagrin River Watershed Partners Minimum Control Measure 6, Stormwater Pollution Prevention and Good Housekeeping Training for Municipal Operations. My name is Kevin and I'm with Chagrin River Watershed Partners. As part of your community's MCM 6 training, municipal employees are required to participate in an annual training with a goal to prevent or reduce pollutant runoff from municipal operations. Before we get started, remember that this training should be reported in your community's annual report to the Ohio EPA. Be sure to record the date, the time, and staff who completed today's training. If you use this video for staff training, please notify CRWP and any other organization that may be helping you track this information for your annual Ohio EPA reporting. So here is an agenda for today for what we're going to be covering through today's training. We're going to give a brief overview of CRWP, stormwater, the Phase 2 stormwater program, and best management practices to prevent stormwater pollution. We'll then end with a short quiz for review. So who is Chagrin River Watershed Partners? CRWP is a nonprofit formed in 1996 by watershed communities and park districts. CRWP works with our member communities and partners to preserve and enhance the scenic and environmental quality of the ecosystem of the Chagrin River, Lake Erie, and other Ohio watersheds in a manner which assures a sustainable future for people, plants, and animals. We're involved in a wide variety of work, such as ordinance adoption and implementation assistance, grant applications for various projects, training for community staff to maintain compliance with stormwater regulations, education and engagement, site visits, plan reviews, and technical recommendations to work towards enhancing the quality of life and solve costly flooding, erosion, and water quality problems. The Chagrin River watershed is considered to be generally of high quality. 71 miles are designated as State Scenic River by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. We have state-threatened brook trout and many high-quality streams with healthy riparian corridors. Like most watersheds, development pressure and increases in impervious surfaces threaten the quality of our watershed. So next, I'd like to provide an overview of some stormwater basics that are important to be familiar with for this training. So here's another photo of the Chagrin River watershed highlighted in green in greater context with Lake Erie. So here are a few questions we're going to answer to give us a brief overview of stormwater. So what is a watershed? A watershed is an area of land that drains to a specific body of water. So the Chagrin River watershed contains all of the land that drains specifically to the Chagrin River. What is stormwater? Stormwater is rainwater or melted snow or any type of precipitation that runs off of streets, lawns, or other surfaces. What is stormwater pollution? Stormwater pollution is when stormwater runs across surfaces, it picks up contaminants which end up in our rivers, lakes, and wetlands. So this photo on the right is a nice illustration of precipitation turning into stormwater when it runs off of our roofs and through our gutters and our streets and through our lawns as well, enters into our storm drains and then eventually outlets directly into our lakes and rivers. So what are some materials that can cause pollution if introduced to our waterways? Some of these materials are oil and fuel, pesticides, fertilizers, detergents, solvents, trash or debris, salt, or different types of construction waste. Through your work, you may be handling some or all of these materials, so it's important to recognize that they can be potential pollutants. So what happens with stormwater? Stormwater flows into storm drains. Unlike sanitary sewers, storm drains receive no treatment and are a direct link to our rivers, lakes, and other bodies of water. So, why should we care? Managing stormwater has many benefits to our ecosystem as well as the communities we live in. Are there any benefits to reducing stormwater pollution that you could think of? Some of the many benefits of stormwater management include protecting drinking water supplies, reducing impacts on aquatic resources, enhancing property values, protecting our infrastructure, enhancing recreational opportunities, and improving our overall quality of life we have within the watershed. So next, let's give an overview of the Phase 2 Stormwater Program. In 1972, to reduce stormwater pollution, the Clean Water Act was established to regulate discharging of pollutants into the waters of the United States and regulating quality standards for surface water. Under the Clean Water Act, the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permit program, was created to help address water pollution by regulating point sources that discharge pollutants to waters of the United States. Phase 2 of the NPDES permit program requires coverage for the discharge of stormwater from municipal separate storm sewer systems, or MS4s. An MS4 is a conveyance or system of conveyances owned by a public entity that is designed or used to collect or convey stormwater, for example, storm drains, pipes, or ditches. These systems transport polluted stormwater runoff into local water bodies without treatment. The EPA's Stormwater Phase 2 rule establishes an MS4 stormwater management program that is intended to improve the nation's waterways by reducing the quantity of pollutants that stormwater picks up and carries into storm sewer systems during rain events. Through the Phase 2 program, MS4s develop and implement a comprehensive stormwater management program. This program contains 6 minimum control measures that, when implemented together, are expected to reduce the amount of pollutants discharging into our waterways. These 6 minimum control measures for stormwater pollution prevention include public education and outreach, public participation and involvement, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site runoff control, post-construction stormwater management, and pollution prevention good housekeeping for municipal operations. Today's training is going to be focusing on MCM 6. Through this MCM, your municipality develops and implements an operations and maintenance program, which includes training of municipal employees with a goal of preventing or reducing pollutant runoff from municipal operations. So next, we will cover best management practices, or BMPs, used to prevent or reduce stormwater pollution. Here's a quick rundown of the different categories that we're going to cover in this training. We'll cover good housekeeping and spill prevention, vehicle and equipment maintenance and washing, street maintenance, landscaping and lawn care, indoor and outdoor storage of supplies, materials, and waste materials, spill or uncontrolled release reporting and response, and illicit discharge detection and elimination. Okay, let's start with good housekeeping. Good housekeeping is just what it sounds like. Keep your service department clean and organized to mitigate any potential spills or accidents. Don't let scrap accumulate, sweep up regularly, clean drips and spills promptly. Make sure containers are properly labeled and sealed with a lid. Many facilities are required to have a spill response kit which contains supplies to clean up any spills that may occur. If you are ever unsure of your kit's location, your supervisor is a great resource to ask. When you have time, take a moment to look through your facility's spill response kit. This will give you the opportunity to familiarize yourself with the kit's contents, so when a spill does happen, you know what you have to work with. Keeping areas organized makes things run smooth and reduces the chances of any accidents from happening. Make sure we use drop cloths. We keep lids on containers when they're not in use. We put our tools away to stay organized and properly dispose of waste when we're done. Never hose down a spill in an outdoor work area. It pushes pollutants directly into storm drains. Okay, let's move on to vehicle and equipment maintenance and washing. Washing or performing maintenance work on a vehicle or equipment outdoors where wastewater is not contained or sent to a sanitary sewer is a threat to stormwater runoff. Any water used to wash or hose down anything which is not contained ends up in storm drains which ends up directly into our rivers and streams. It's very important to protect storm drains from potential pollutants. Your facility should have a designated wash area where water is contained or sent to a sanitary sewer. Be sure to wash vehicles and equipment only in those designated areas. While on the topic of vehicles and equipment, if you notice leaks of any kind, be sure to grab a drip pan to keep oils and fluids off of the floor. Street maintenance. When we clean our streets or storm drains, make sure we know what we're going to do with the debris. Never dump debris into a roadside ditch or a roadway. Oftentimes, the collected debris is sent to a sanitary landfill or to a designated material storage area. Moving on to landscaping and lawn care. Service departments are often responsible for landscaping duties of many public areas. It's important to be aware that pesticides and fertilizers we use can contaminate stormwater runoff. The containers these products come in have specific instructions on how the product should be applied, so always be sure to follow these instructions. Additionally, always ensure that proper training or licensing prior to pesticide application is obtained if necessary. When applying chemicals or pesticides, make sure we follow the manufacturer's directions. Never apply chemicals before, during, or immediately after a rain event, and that we properly dispose of grass clippings after mowing. Whenever applying any chemicals near an open body of water, make sure to leave a buffer area. A buffer area is a perimeter around the open water where no chemical is applied to the landscape. This mitigates the chance that any overspray caught in the wind or material kicked out from the spreader is not falling directly into the water. Let's talk about outdoor material storage. Portable containers like cardboard boxes should not be permanently stored outdoors. If they do need to be stored outdoors temporarily, be sure to cover them with a waterproof tarp. This helps ensure that the containers are protected if it happens to rain and keeps all potential stormwater contaminants out of our storm drains. Also, be sure to keep any outdoor dumpsters covered with a lid or tarp when not in use, and be sure to never dump any kinds of liquid directly into a dumpster. Spill reporting and response. So spills can happen. Spills are especially common when performing certain tasks like fueling of vehicles and equipment, changing oil, or improper storage of any types of chemicals or pesticides or paint. When a spill does happen, we want to make sure we know how to handle the spill in a safe way. When a spill or leak does occur, be sure to contain it as soon as possible. Try to use dry cleanup methods like sweeping. Many spill response kits have products to absorb liquid, which makes sweeping possible. Never hose down any spills or leaks. This moves the spilled material directly into the storm drains and into our lakes and streams. If a spill is unknown or hazardous, call your facility's designated spill hotline or supervisor as soon as possible. You should be familiar with your facility's stormwater pollution prevention plan. This plan describes procedures to prevent stormwater contamination, control sedimentation and erosion, and comply with requirements of the Clean Water Act. This plan also identifies equipment and procedures for spill response, storm drain inlet locations within your facility. It also identifies potential stormwater pollutants and best management practices to protect stormwater runoff from these pollutants. If you are unsure if your facility has a stormwater pollution prevention plan or where it is kept, ask your supervisor. Illicit discharge is the illegal dumping of materials into our community's storm drains. Signs of an illicit discharge are pipes running into a storm drain, stains around the storm drain, oftentimes from oil or paint, or the sound of running water during periods of dry weather. If any potential illicit discharge is detected, report your findings to your supervisor or stormwater specialist as soon as you are able to. As a reminder, municipalities are responsible and liable for anything that enters their storm drainage systems. Okay, that covers what we wanted to talk about in today's training. Now we're going to go through a quick summary of what we discussed, and then we're going to move on to a short quiz. So in summary, make sure to wash vehicles and equipment only in designated wash areas. Keep work areas clean and orderly. Clean spills and leaks immediately using dry cleanup methods. Never hose down a spill. It washes pollutants directly into our storm drains. Make sure containers are properly labeled and sealed with a lid. Keep supplies and materials indoors or in designated storage areas unless you are actively using them. Properly dispose of waste while cleaning streets. Only use pesticides and fertilizers as needed and as specified by the manufacturer's label. Report any potential illicit discharges that you detect. And remember, there are many benefits that come from responsible stormwater management. From protecting our drinking water supplies, to reducing our impacts on aquatic resources, to enhancing property values and improving our overall quality of life we all have within the watershed. By utilizing these best management practices, we can protect our watershed for future generations. And now it's time for a short quiz to test the knowledge on the material that we covered today. So, question 1. Where should vehicles and equipment be washed? Outside next to a storm drain, over bare soil so the water will be absorbed, in a designated wash area, or none of the above? The correct answer is C. In order to ensure that any salt, grime, or soap does not make it into our lakes and rivers, it is important that we wash vehicles and equipment in designated wash areas where the runoff will be contained or sent to a sanitary sewer where it can be properly treated. As a reminder, storm drains are untreated and are direct links to our lakes and rivers. Question 2. Which of the following are not potential stormwater pollutants? Gasoline, salt, paint, all of the above, or none of the above? The answer is E, none of the above. Gas, salt, and paint are all potential stormwater pollutants. If any are accidentally spilled, it is important that we contain the spill and clean up with a dry method like sweeping or using absorbent pads from our spill response kits as soon as possible. Question 3. When is it okay to hose down a spill? If the material is non-hazardous, if you can't locate your spill response kit, if the spill is liquid, if it is done immediately, or never. The answer is never. It is never okay to hose down a spill. When a spill is hosed down, the water and spilled substance enters our storm drains and makes its way directly to our lakes and streams. If a vehicle has an oil leak, what should be done first? Wash the spill down with water, drain the remaining oil from the vehicle, place a drip pan under the leak, move the vehicle indoors. First thing we should do is place a drip pan under the leak. If we notice the vehicle is leaking anything, first thing we should do is to contain the leak to keep any additional substance off of the ground. This is easily achievable by placing a drip pan under the location of the leak. Last question. What should be done with an outdoor dumpster if it is not in use? The dumpster should be placed on bare soil, leave lids or covers closed, move the dumpster indoors, all of the above, or none of the above. When an outdoor dumpster is not in use, we should leave lids or covers closed. This ensures that any debris in the dumpster does not accidentally spill out from any wind. It also keeps any water out of the dumpster and mixing with waste in case it starts to rain or is already raining. And that concludes our stormwater pollution prevention staff training. We hope through this training that you've learned the importance of pollution prevention and how you play an important role in protecting your watershed. As a reminder, this training should be reported in your community's annual report to the Ohio EPA. Be sure to record the date, time, and staff who completed this training event. If you use this video for your staff training, please notify CRWP and any other organization that may be helping you track this information for your annual Ohio EPA reporting. If you would like any additional information on this training or how you can care for your watershed, please visit our website at crwp.org.